Craig and David Smoak. He's written some of the best books you'll ever read that have turned into great movies as well. The Junction Boys, 12 Mighty Orphans. He's the funniest man I know.
How much did I pay you?
He is an incredible writer and author and a friend and a bounce back. My God, Jim Dent joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. How are you doing, sir?
Smokey, friend means the most to me. You and I have been friends for a long time, brother. And I want to tell you this. This is the happiest I've been since Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys and started chasing every woman around that old oak tree. You are my friend, my mentor. I'm going to tell you something. I was gone for a long time, and I missed you dearly, and I am so happy to hear your voice.
Yeah, and I did listen to you doing a segment in Austin about what you're doing now, your journey, where you have been, what are you doing now. We could start with the story a couple of days ago on ESPN.com if you want. Did that surprise you in any way? And do you think Rich Dalrymple is a guy who's taking bullets for the organization?
Rich Dalrymple is totally innocent. I will tell you that for a fact. Because you've known that guy, and I've known that guy for so long. He is steady. Now, he's a little cocky. He's a little arrogant. But he is taking bullets for Jerry Jones. There's no question.
Jim,
and you know what? And you know what, Smokey? That's sad. That is really, really sad because Dalrymple, 32 years, took the brunt of the Jones baloney. And as you know, my first book was about Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus, Jerry Jones is a dirty dog. And we've known that. We've seen him in training camp. We've seen him in action. And I'm just sorry that Dalrymple has to take the hit on this.
Jim, this is Paul Catalina. The story is very strange to me in that, and again, I'm sure that somebody saw Rich Dalrymple there, but of all the places he could walk into in that building, I mean, he knows it backwards and forwards. Like, that would be the last locker room he should ever even think to sneak into for any reason. And then the ridiculous story about Charlotte Jones had he been caught doing that, he would have been fired on the spot.
Hey, Paul, let me tell you something. What I have known about Rich Dalrymple is family man, good husband, good citizen. And again, Smokey, you know this. The guy's cocky. He's arrogant. You know, Jones gave him some leash, probably paid him a lot of money. But come on, man. We know that Jones, he's at the heart of this problem. And I hate to speculate too far because I promised myself back in 1995 that I would never chase Jones again. But Jones is dirty, man. He's been chasing women since God knows who, all the way back to Little Rock. And I hate to see this about Dalrymple unless there is something I don't know, and it's not very often things I don't know. So let's just say that Dalrymple took the bad part of this thing.
How did that book, King of the Cowboys, how did that turn out, Jim?
You know, you set me up on that question just quite well, Smokey. Jerry Jones bought all my books. He told me that in 2010. I sat down with him because I had dedicated my Super Bowl book to him. And I said, Jerry, a lot of people read my book, but I can't find anybody who really understood it. Jerry, did you buy all my books? And Jerry said, Jim, I did, and I warehoused them for you. 35,000 books because I wrote about, one, his womanizing, and two, how he cheated to get the money to buy the Cowboys. So, yeah, well, Jerry and I have a very interesting past. It goes back to Rose City, Arkansas, where we were both born. He wore 31. I wore 31. We had the same high school football coach. We know each other upside and down, backward and forward. And I'm going to tell you, when I saw the Dalrymple story, I said, man, come on, Jerry, let Dalrymple off the thing. You know, Dalrymple doesn't deserve this. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Jim Dent, author, again, of the books I've mentioned. When did you finally get to watch 12 Mighty Orphans, since you wrote the book and then you were not around to watch it when it first was released?
Smokey, you are the nicest person I've ever met. I came out of prison on November 24th of last year, and it had been troubling me for some time. I've watched it 10 times, maybe 20. It is my baby. It's my best book. It's not going to be my best book forever. It is not my life story. It is not the one that is going to continue to make me. But I'm going to tell you this. These people who made this movie, they did a fabulous job. They didn't, I would have done it a little differently. I wrote the book, you know, but dog, come on. They did a fantastic job. I cried all the way through it. I'm telling you, I cried all the way through it. But Smokey, they did a great job, and I highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime right now, and you know, if you got some time, I think it's 99 cents right now. Watch it; it's good.
Jim, what did you feel about? I'm always curious when we have people who've written something that gets turned into a movie. When you get casting of Martin Sheen and Robert Duvall in the same movie alone, even though I know that Robert Duvall's kind of just a cameo, but Luke Wilson, the casting was really impeccable for the movie.
Paul, I think that this might be Martin Sheen's. No, not. I can't say this. It's one of Martin Sheen's best roles. He was Doc Hall. Luke Wilson was Rusty Russell. They did great. I wish they had added a couple of, there was a couple of things that were left out, but come on, man. I sold it to them. It's theirs. They can do what they want to, but Martin Sheen was brilliant in this movie as Doc Hall. So, you know what I want to do? I want to just see Martin Sheen and kiss him on the forehead. And it looks like I might get a shot at that about March 26th. They're about to have another screening, I think, just for me. So, let me go through a couple of things with you. I was in prison when this thing came out. I missed it. 6 months I sat on my bunk. And it hurt me. It hurt me because I should have been there. But all I kept thinking was this: they're making the movie. And when I got out and I watched it, I went down to my knees and said, thank you, God, for finally making this movie. I will always respect these people. Houston Hill got the funding. There's some terrific people involved in this. And guys, I'm sitting here right now getting very emotional, as you know. It was a great movie. It did us all a lot of good. And watch the movie on Amazon Prime. Get your kids with you, surround you, and watch this thing, because it has a tremendous message to it. And it always will. And I'm very proud of the people who made the movie.
Jim, you've now alluded to the fact you were in prison and now you are a free man. I can't even imagine being incarcerated. Obviously, you've told your story before. And so how is each day right now? How do you go about every single day?
Well, let me back up just a second. I went to the Polonsky unit, and I lived with the killers for 5 years. It was a mistake. They sent me there. The warden called me in and said, "We're moving you." And I said, "No, you're not." I got more stories out of Polonsky than you can imagine. And the next book is called Diary of a Mad Writer. You know, my life is good, Smokey. Thanks for asking. I am writing the greatest book I've ever written because these guys saved my life when I got COVID in 2020. They brought me ice, they brought me water, they brought me Cokes, and these are killers, man. And I have a wonderful story to tell that people have never seen or heard of in prison. And yes, I'm ashamed I went to prison, but I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes you just need to go somewhere you don't want to go to find the story that is the essence of who you are. And going to prison was that for me. So, you know, thank you for being so nice. Thank you for being so delicate, you know, about that. But I did 7 years, buddy. I did 7 years, 5 at the toughest prison in Texas. I did 5 years at the San Quentin of Texas, which is where, by the way, death row is. I am a new man. I feel better.
Can I ask you?
I feel cathartic. I feel cathartic. I feel better. Thank you, Smokey. Okay.
I don't mind if you don't mind me asking a question, because I think our audience would love to know this as well. When you were on the run, you had a lot of things going down. When you finally were caught and you had to go to prison, this sounds like a stupid question. Was there a sense of, and I apologize if it is, was there any sense of relief, at least it could start your new beginning?
It was great relief, Smokey. You know it was. You know I was going to get caught. If I had gotten back, I spent a year in Mexico for the people who didn't know. And by the way, I played with a mariachi band in Mexico and had a freaking blast. But yes, I needed to get caught because they were going to get me when I was freaking 85 years old and put me in prison. And, you know, I got through it. I did it. I excelled in what I did. I worked in the library. I worked in education. I taught kids how to write the essay to get their GED. It played out well. It did. It played out extremely well for me because I learned a lot about me and I learned a lot about people and I helped a lot of people when I was in prison. So by God, your question is right on.
You said earlier you're writing the best book you've ever written right now, which has to be a great. You want that feeling, kind of. You want the teams to know it. You're going to win every game you're going to play. But do you feel that because of the catharsis you're talking about, that you can finally spell out things that you never even thought you'd write about?
I think the revelations, Paul, are going to be very good. I think this is going to be a movie. And as arrogant as I am, and as cocky as I am, I think it's going to be a damn good movie. But it's going to show to a lot of people the insides of what goes on in prison and what goes on in life and what happens when you fall. Man, I fell. And it's meaningful. This book, Diary of a Mad Writer is meaningful, and I love it. I'm almost done with it. I wrote 177,000 words present, and of course I've got to cut that down just a little bit. But it's going to be. I think it's the most important thing that maybe I'll ever write.
Jim Dent, again, award-winning writer. The different books that I've mentioned, and now the Diary of a Mad Writer as well. When some people, when they write, a lot of people who write, and you were a columnist and you were a beat, you've done all that. And a lot of times those are late nights because games, baseball, football, whatever, NBA. Do you write your best after midnight, or do you write your best at another time during the day?
I'm going to tell you this, Smokey. I was the best deadline writer, I think, in the history of Dallas. I mean, I could spin a story at 11:55 and have it done by midnight. When I was at the Herald, I was outstanding. Morning is when I write now. I mean, I get up at, man, it's 4:00 in the morning, and I start walking around the house, and I start stretching, and I get in my hot tub, and I drink coffee, and at 5:00 my brain is on fire, and I write all day, brother. It's changed. I always wanted to write books. I always did, even going back to when I was a kid, and I've shifted. But I think I was a good newspaper man, and I think some of the stuff I've written lately has just been killer.
If you had lunch and you could invite 3 former, living or not, writers in the Dallas and Fort Worth area to lunch with you, who would they be?
Well, it would be Randy Galloway.
Sure.
First of all, if I could bring back Dan Jenkins and Blackie Sherrod, they would be also. But I would put a 4th at the table to make it a table of 5, and that 5th would be David Smoak.
Yeah, Jim, thank you. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Those are Hall of Famers, man.
Jim, what do you, I mean, you experience prison. I think a lot of people have a very black and white view of incarceration in America and what that means. It's a much more complicated spider web of issues than that. What would you want people to know about life as an incarcerated person, what it's like for different people inside, and what our prison system is really like?
Paul, I'm going to tell you this. I am not for letting the killers out. I'm just not. I've been around them. I know who they are. And I think they would probably kill again, most of these guys. But let me tell you something, what I know deep in my heart about these murderers and killers and people I've been around is that they are living life in prison as most people live in the free world. They are doing a good job. In fact, this is one of the most amazing things that I saw in prison and that I write about in Diary of a Mad Writer is that the guys who kill people are actually some of the best and the smartest in there. They know they're staying. They keep their boots shined. They go to work. They treat the day like it's an important day. They try to live life to the fullest. And by God, I don't want to say that this was a great experience for me, but it certainly showed me something. It showed me a lot about life. I'm glad I'm gone. I'm glad I'm out. I'm glad I'm away from there. But I'm going to tell you something. I learned a lot about humankind in there. These people turned out to be my friends. They did. And I learned a lot about dealing with different races because you have to. when you're in prison. But overall, I think it was a good experience for me. I hope that it comes through in my book. But by God, I never want to go back there again.
Yeah, I imagine. Can you describe the feeling when you walked out the prison doors?
Well, the warden and the assistant warden were waiting for me, and they don't do that for many people. And they knew what it meant to me. And the warden said, Dent, you got to stop the bull shit. And I said, yes, sir, I do. I do. They're, you know, I don't want to go back, but I'm never, ever going to forget it. It was, you know, it's 7 years. At times it was horrible. Made a lot of friends. I've got some interesting stories in my book.
What's the time? What's the timeline in the book?
I would think next football season.
Okay. All right. It's great to hear your voice, man. Thank you for doing this for us, Jim. We appreciate your time telling your story, but also the story of many others, and then also just some insight on the Cowboys and Jerry.
Smokey, you mean a lot to me, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You mean a lot to me as well. I'm glad to hear your voice. I really am. Can't wait to see you.
Thank you.
Jim Dent.
Okay.
Hall of Fame writer, Dallas Times-Herald, all the various places he'd worked. King of the Cowboys was about Jerry. The Mighty Mites.
That's hilarious that Jerry warehoused
12 Mighty
book.
Orphans. Huh?
That's hilarious that Jerry warehoused his book.
He warehoused it. The Junction Boys, of course, about A&M. The Undefeated about Oklahoma and the greatest winning streak in college football history, among many others. And, of course, some of those books, as he mentioned, movies, including The Junction Boys, and also 12 Mighty Orphans. He was a part of the NFL, covered the NFL for a long, long time. He's a mess, but he's a friend. And it was good to hear and talk to him a couple of days ago and get this. I hope you enjoyed this segment. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Specials until 6 o'clock tonight and through